There's 7 methods to legally flipping cars, and I'm gonna walk you through each one. Starting with method 1, the legal limit. Each state has a different limit on how many cars you can sell a year, and any more, you're gonna get in trouble. So the next 6 methods will show you how to get around the yearly limit. All you do is when you buy a car, you have the seller sign the title, you take it to the DMV to put it in your name, and then you can legally sell it. Good news, this method is completely legal, but there is some problems. Well, problem 1 is there's fees, usually around $100 to $300. Problem 2, you have to wait for the title to be shipped to you before selling it. So usually it's gonna take a couple of weeks, but some states will print it on the spot, just depends. And problem 3, you can only flip a certain amount of cars a year. Of course, that's not fun. It takes time and money, which cuts into how much you can make each month. It's easy to see why flippers don't really like this method. That's why I recommend using the next method, so you can avoid the yearly limit in total. Next is method 2. Friends and family. It's a loophole to flip more than the yearly limit. Since the yearly limit is per person, what if you had multiple people? You know, it's kind of like fishing. You're out catching bass, you're only allowed to catch 5 a day. But if you go with 4 other friends and they didn't catch any, you can catch 25 bass, basically using their limit. That's how it works, using your friends and family's yearly limits since they don't flip cars. For example, you flip 5 cars in your name, then the 6th car in your friend's name. This method is like technically legal as long as your friends or family are okay with being the owner on paper and putting the car under their name. The cool thing is, as long as you have people that will let you do it, you can flip as many cars as you want. But you know, there is some issues. Issue 1, you need enough friends, enough family members, and they have to agree so you can keep flipping. But a little tip, give each person $100 per car and flip the car under their name. That convinces a lot of people because it's free money. You can even go out in the street and get a homeless guy. I'm kidding, don't do that. Issue 2, each friend still has a yearly limit. You're gonna quickly hit it, and you shouldn't be using their whole limit either. Let's say you max out Aunt Susan's limit. 3 months later, she might want a new car, so she goes to sell hers, and then she calls you up because she's scared to death. She's like, hey, my limit's maxed out, they're threatening to fine me. You don't you know, you shouldn't be doing that. And issue 3, your friend's name is on the title, making it harder to sell, since some people will only buy your car if your name's on the title. But when most flippers say when asked why their name's not on the title, they just say, I'm selling it for a friend, uncle, cousin, you know. This does work, but if you're just telling the truth and say, I got it for a deal, so I just cleaned it up and I'm selling it, nobody really cares. When you lie, people can tell, and it makes them scared. But telling the truth makes them trust you enough to buy the car from you. For the paperwork, it's the same, but instead of you signing the title, you have your friends do it. And you still have to wait for the title in the mail. But this method isn't gonna last forever. You're gonna run out of friends and need a better strategy. So the majority of flippers end up going with method 3, title floating. Also known as title jumping, title skipping, title flipping, paper flipping, open title, curb stoner, or an unlicensed dealer. You know, I don't like those names though. I like to call it title maneuvering. This is when you buy and sell a car without putting the title into your name. In other words, you're simply taking the title you got when buying the car and giving it to the person that buys the car from you. It works by the seller signing the title to sell it, but you leave the buyer section where you're supposed to sign blank. So then when you sell it, your buyer can fill in their name and sign it there as the new owner. This means, yes, you are bypassing the yearly limit, since you never appear in the DMV records as the owner. The state doesn't know, and it doesn't count. There's good and bad about this method. Let's start with why it's the most used one. First, when you don't register the car, you avoid paying any fees, saving you hundreds of dollars each flip. Second, you can flip as many cars as you want with no yearly limit. Third, you don't need to go to the DMV or wait a couple weeks for the title in the mail. A flipper can buy a car and sell it the next day with nothing in the way. Well, other than the law. But it does come with some bad. Con 1, to float a title, the seller needs to let you leave it unsigned. Which is why people say things like, I'm buying it for my brother, so I'll just have him sign it later. Or, I'm going on vacation and don't want to get a late fee, so don't put the date on it. But if the seller catches on what you're trying to do, they might end up not selling you the car. Now, there's a few tricks to this. Trick 1 is to only have the seller sign the title, but don't put a date on it. Having a date on it isn't the end of the world, but it's preferred not to, because when you're selling a car with a title that has an older date on it, it seems pretty weird to buyers. Also, you're supposed to report when you bought a car by bringing the title to the DMV to start the registration process, and after 10 days, the title is late, resulting in a late fee. The fee isn't much, as you can see, but why would you want the buyer to have to pay that fee? It's just extra wasted money. Trick 2 is keeping the mileage section blank. Because when you sell it, buyers might wonder why it's already filled out. But if it was filled in and you drove the car a lot, the next buyer might ask about it. And back to con 2. It's not legal. It gets a bad reputation online, but It's not that bad. People do things that aren't legal all the time. It's like speeding or avoid paying all their business taxes. With car flipping, it gets quite annoying paying taxes because a car gets taxed every year and every time it's sold. Let's say you bought a car in 2010 for $30,000. Over the next 15 years, it's going to devalue all the way to $5,000. In each year, you pay a 0.65% tax, which doesn't sound like much, but all added up, that's $1,300 in yearly taxes across the 15 years. By the way, these numbers were calculated by using the average diminishing value of a car over the last 15 years. But that's not all the fees. There's also a sales tax every time someone buys it. Let's say in the last 15 years, there's been 3 owners, and then you come along and buy it. At a 7.25% tax in California, it's a lot of taxes being paid. $4,100 worth of them. I understand you personally aren't paying all of them, but in total, after 15 years, the car ends up being worth $5,000 and has had $5,400 in taxes paid. More than the car's worth. That's insane to me. That's why flippers hate registering cars, plus they're just cheap, and everyone wants to save money. Con 3, your name isn't on the title again, so you're gonna have a reason when someone shows up to buy the car from you. Most people say they're selling it for someone, or they're just honest and say they resell cars. Although title floating is not legal, tons of flippers are doing it, and practically none of them are getting caught, which is exactly why they do it. There's no way to track them since they never titled the car, and it's not enforced well. It's basically just tax evasion, but like everyone in the world is doing that already. The reality is, this method is faster and creates more profit by not having to pay fees. But since title floating isn't legal, Method 4 could be a good option for you to stay legal without much more effort. Method 4 is becoming a dealer salesperson, more commonly known as a buyer's or dealer's agent. If you want to flip more cars but you don't want to break the law, what you do is work under someone else's dealer's license. That's by partnering with a dealer to get their perks. Doing this, you can buy and sell cars under their dealer's license. Here's how it works. First, the dealer adds you to their license. Now, with you on their license, you can do practically everything they can, like going to dealers' auctions and flipping cars. But you should know that every time you buy a car under them, it's technically purchased by the dealership, not you. And when you sell a car, it's done as a sale from the dealer. Since everything's going through the dealer and he can flip as many cars as he wants, so can you. But a dealer isn't just going to do this out of the kindness of his heart. To make it worth their while and get them to say yes, pay him a commission, monthly, or a flat fee per car. This is usually around $100 to $250 per car. In exchange, they'll allow you access to be on their license. To find someone to do this with you can be hard though. So here's a couple ways you can go about it. One idea, go to local car meets in areas that dealers might be. The second idea is you can find a flipping or dealer groups on places like Facebook or forums, and you can find people in there. Third idea is you can find online programs offering something like dealer's agent or dealer's license under umbrella. Just watch out for scams. Fourth idea is to simply go to every dealership in your area, build a relationship with the dealer, and then ask them to allow you to do it for a car fee. This is legal since you're essentially borrowing someone else's perks. Related to this, certain dealers will only let you go to auctions under them and pay them per car, which is pretty cool. You can also ask for a dealer's plate, but most dealers won't do it because it puts them on liability if you crash the car. But if you don't want to be flipping cars under someone else, or you can't find a willing dealer, Method 5 will be the method for you. Method 5 is becoming a wholesale dealer. It sounds hard and most people don't make it to this step, but in reality it's pretty easy to do and cheap. But what is a wholesale dealer's license? A wholesale dealer's license allows you to buy cars from public, like on Facebook. You can also buy from dealer auctions and retail dealers, along with other wholesale dealers. And then you can take those cars and you can sell them through auctions or to other wholesale and retail dealers. The requirements to become a wholesale dealer are less strict than a full retail dealer's license. You don't need a car lot or even an office at most times. You can do it out of your garage, and if you don't have one, you rent a small office. But it's got some limits to it. Limit 1, you can't sell to the public. This is the main problem with this license, but there actually is a way to still sell to the public, which I'll go over in a bit. Limit 2, it costs some money and time to get, but it's really not as bad as you think. In California, it's less than $500 up front, and at most it's $200 a year after that. So there's 2 ways to get it. Option 1 is have a garage that's accessible from the street. Like you could pull through your driveway and get to your garage. And it needs to have a lockable filing cabinet in it, and that's literally it. It can be done all out of your house. Option 2 is rent a commercial office without a lot and put a lockable filing cabinet inside. This does include storage units with street access, which basically means there can't be a gate to get in, which are pretty hard to find, to be fair. As long as the store owner allows you to be doing it out of there, you're good. Either way, it requires an online training and an in-person test. The rest is easy. After that, you're gonna have to wait to get approved, and then you're all ready to go. But there is some cool things you could do with this license. First, you can go to dealer-only auctions, which of course are better than public auctions. Second, you can buy as many cars as you want and sell them to auctions or dealers. Third, it can be done from your garage. And if you have to do an office, it's like $500 a month. Fourth, you can essentially title float legally to other dealers since you don't have to register the cars, not paying any of those fees. Fifth, you get wholesale discounts on parts and you're not taxed on them, saves you a little bit of money. Sixth, you get dealer plates which allow you to drive around any car for any reason without registering it as long as you put them on the back. Now, the biggest issue with this license is you don't have the freedom to sell to the public like retail dealers do. But there is a way around this. It's by going through a retail dealer. Many flippers will use a wholesale license in combination with a person who's a retail dealer. How it works is you wholesale the car to a retail dealer, and then they retail it for you. Or you can just sell it to someone and have the retail dealer handle all the paperwork and transfer details. Just like the friends and family method, you're gonna have to convince someone to help you with it, which is again done by giving them a fee or percentage for each car you do this with. So the entire process goes like this. You buy a car, fix it up, sell it, or have a retail dealer sell it for you. Then the retail dealer does the paperwork for you. If you want to use it as intended, you go to auctions, buy cars, and sell them to dealers. This is why some flippers choose the wholesale license. It's easier and cheaper to get than a retail dealer's license and gives you some nice perks. There's some online sites that help you get one out of state without having to do any sort of office or any of that stuff. They just do it all for you. And it's pretty cheap, but I really wouldn't go with these as most auctions know that's what's happening and aren't gonna let you in. This method is going to allow you to flip as many cars as you want, but it requires working with other dealers for sales, which can be annoying, or you simply might not be able to find someone to work with, so that's where Method 6 comes in. Method 6 is the retail dealer's license, the big boy, the ultimate route for fully committed flippers. When someone says, he's a car dealer, this is what they're talking about. This license removes basically all limits. You can buy from anyone, you can sell to anyone, you can easily do all the paperwork yourself without going to the DMV. You're more trusted by buyers. You can charge more for cars. You have access to dealer-only auctions. You get a lot of discounts. You get dealer plates and a lot more. But there is some downsides to this. There's thousands in upfront and ongoing costs like rent, insurance, surety bond, fees, and just buying cars to fill your car lot. Plus, there's quite a few laws you're gonna have to follow, along with needing a building zoned for car sales with an office and a parking space and a sign for your dealership. So if you're not gonna be selling a lot of cars, the cost of maintaining a license can outweigh the savings. And if you close down, you just wasted thousands to get it open and keep it open every year. Yeah, it can be hard, but it's also got quite a lot of benefits. So if you really want a full-on car flipping business, if it's still even called that anymore, this is the way to go. Now, there's some workarounds people end up going with instead that are similar to this. One is that, similar to the wholesale license, people get an out-of-state retail license with some online sites. This means no problems, no lots needed, and it's not too expensive. You just pay them each year. I will say I don't know a whole bunch about this, but it can be a good way to get one. Just don't expect to be getting into dealer auctions, and I bet there's some more reasons not to do it this way. Two is to partner with someone. You could put two people on one license if it's a personal one, or if you create an LLC before you got your license, you can put as many people you want to get the dealer's benefit, and you can add and remove them at any time. I'm not sure the limit on this, but if you don't want to do this, you can partner with another dealer who's already all set up. But if you or the dealer you want to partner with registers for their license without an LLC, you can only have two people on the license, which hopefully will be you and them. Three is to find someone with an office and parking lot that isn't a dealer, maybe like a mechanic, and then you use their address as the dealership location for a monthly fee. Four is that some people rent a lot long enough until they get their license, then they just stop renting the lot, and they're just hoping that the state doesn't check back to make sure it's still valid, which they will, just a matter of time. Five, even with the dealer's license, some people will continue doing sales privately, not through the dealership, to avoid the fees, which is pretty funny to me because it's just like they're going back to the old flipping ways. Six is that instead of getting a full-on shop and a lot for your dealer's license, sometimes people can make it work with a storage unit, as long as you're allowed to work out of it and it's not behind a gate and it's accessible from the street. Plus, the owner has to allow you to put a sign on the outside. If you plan on making a long-term business out of car flipping, flipping several cars a month, Getting your resale license is the proper legal route, but most people avoid it and end up using method 7. Method 7 is the hybrid method. Realistically, many car flippers use a combination of the above methods. There's many hybrid models you could do, but here's a scenario that uses a mix of methods. Jimmy here buys a car without signing the title, and he gets his friend to sign it under his name. But if the seller makes him sign it, he'll just sign it using one of his yearly limits. For the rest, he's just having his friends sign it. When he runs out of friends, he's title floating the rest of the cars he flips. But now he has no friends to sign for him, and the seller also wants him to sign the title. So he then signs it under his name, using another one of his personal limits. Then he repeats the process until he's ran out of friends and his own limit for the year. For the rest of the year, he's only title floating while looking for new people to use their limits. And if someone wants him to sign the title while he's buying it, he simply just walks away and finds a new car he can title float on. Then the next year rolls around and he does it all over again. Now he's done this for years, making tons of money, and he decides it's time to become official and get a wholesale license. For a while, he uses his license and a dealer he met to sell cars through the retail dealer's license. Finally, he doesn't want to deal with that dealer, so he goes all in on his car flipping business and gets a retail car dealer's license to do everything the way it was supposed to be done. But if you're just starting out, stop worrying about all this stuff and just hit your legal limit first. Most people haven't even flipped a single car and complain about the limit. Then go through all the methods and decide which works best for you. But click this video now if you want to learn exactly how to make more money flipping cars. And as always, I'm wishing you a lucky day.